Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Field. I am Liv Moods, and in just a moment, joined by Nate Jackson. And this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American Mortgage's salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Woo! We always open with a little, if you're wearing earphones, maybe don't for this show, because right off the bat, we are going to be screaming in your ear. Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Field. I'm Liv Moods. That's Nate Jackson. And I think we'll actually have a special guest joining us in a little bit. Nate.
Very special. Very special.
Very special. And we've got some things to talk about as the NFL Combine is kind of underway. We've already got some of our content out into the universe for you guys. We've got BK out there getting you guys all things content. So don't miss it. Head to our YouTube. Make sure you're kind of keeping yourself up to date on all things NFL Combine. And we've got a show for you today.
Boy, do we.
Boy, do we. We always have a show for you. Monday, Thursdays, off field. Lots to discuss, lots to talk about. Nate, how's your Thursday going?
So far, so good. My son was a little bit sicky yesterday. So
with
actually
what?
the last couple of days, he had a little fever.
There's a lot of little buggies going around
Yeah,
right now.
and so we kept him home from school. So just me and the little guy hanging out. But he was okay. We just were being cautious, which they tell you to do, right? So I got a haircut for him.
Cute.
We got some new shoes for him. We had a nice little
I have a
Father's
fever, I
Sunday.
think.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, get out of here. What are you doing here?
No, I just want shoes.
Oh, you got some pretty cool shoes on right
I just
there.
want some shoes. That's all. You said it sounds like when you get a fever at the Jackson household, you get shoes.
That's
so
true. But
I
also,
have a fever.
But also, his feet are growing very fast, and his like the pair of shoes he really loved, like there was holes in the toes and everything, and he's
His
just
toes were like mushed up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we went and got some new ones, and
I love that.
yeah, it was good though. But he was like not reacting well in the haircut chair to the clippers, like, zzz, and he's like, and the lady doing it was like not very skilled, and he just kept moving his head and like.
At that age, it's hard. One, it's hard to get them to sit still. I would
Yeah.
imagine for anything, but
Yeah.
also that noise, it can sound a little intimidating, perhaps.
Yeah,
Right by the ear, you're like, "Are you about to cut my neck off?"
Yeah, but he's done it before, and he knows it doesn't hurt. But for some was weird yesterday. Maybe it was because he was a little sick.
Yeah.
He said his hair hurt, which
Oh, maybe
you know,
he just had such a bad. Sometimes body
You know, a
chills
headache or
makes your skin
something.
like tender.
yeah.
Oh,
And
poor
then,
guy.
and then like she didn't like wet it enough before she cut the top, and so it's kind of dry. So she'd be cutting it, and it was like falling into his mouth, and he's like, and he's
So
like
you
spit.
tortured him on his sick day. That's what it sounds like.
He needed a haircut.
You literally tortured him while he was not feeling good.
We call it the hair doctor. We were like, "You want to go to the hair doctor?" He's like, "Yeah, hair doctor."
That's so cute.
Yeah.
I
So
don't like going
anyway,
to the hair doctor.
Thursday's going good. You don't like going to the hair doctor?
Nah.
Why?
I don't like any appointment, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just feels like a waste of time.
That's tough because you
But I
ladies
do
have
go to a lot of
lot-
appointments.
That's
The
what I was gonna say.
lashes, the nails, the eyebrows, the hair. Yeah. Mhm.
Got it. Mine too. How are my lashes?
Fabulous.
I went yesterday.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
let's get into the first quarter of this show. If you guys don't know, we have this show broken down like a football game, 4 quarters here. And we're going to start with kind of some events that happen in the NFL Combine.
Yeah.
What are some things that you are going to be looking out for, maybe from a Broncos lens, but also just a former player lens? I know you're not super keen on the Combine. You're not. I think if they did away with it, you wouldn't be losing sleep over that idea.
I wouldn't.
But there are some events and there are some coaches that are looking for very specific things. Let's put yourself in Sean Payton's shoes.
Okay. Relative
What?
to other shoes.
Right. Knowing what you know about the Broncos' weaknesses, some places that they need to get a little better. You've got the 40-yard dash,
Mhm.
L shuttle, bench press, vertical jump. What are you looking at if you are Sean Payton?
Yeah, probably none of that.
Nothing.
Sean Payton has been at this for a while.
Yeah.
So he goes there like, look, all you guys are looking for this. I'm looking for this.
I'm looking for something different.
He's looking for
He's
something
got to
different.
be different.
So I think for them, it's about gathering information on players,
Right.
not so much what they can do, in these tests, because these tests are not always applicable to the football field. right? Like
rarely
the
are,
guy
I
who runs the
think.
fastest 40 is rarely the best football player on the field. The guy who does 225 the most times on the bench press is rarely the strongest guy on a football field,
Mhm.
right? And so there's like, yes, this is cool to kind of try to compete and separate yourself from other guys who may be around the same sort of grade as you. But I think for coaches, especially coaches who've been at this as long as Sean Payton, they go in here looking for other things. How you carry yourself. They want to
Yeah.
maybe talk to you, see how you handle people.
Maybe maturity too. Like
maturity.
maybe there's moments where your time isn't what you want it to be, or
Right.
you're dropping passes or whatever it may be. And how do you respond to that?
Yeah,
Coaches may look for that kind of stuff too.
absolutely. Yeah, and how you are when you're around a group of guys who are all competing for the same thing.
Mhm.
Do you shrink or do you grow? Are you a small school guy and it's too big for you, or are you a small school guy and you actually are emboldened by that?
Mhm.
And also, like, he's politicking, right? Like, he had all the media
yeah.
in his suite for the Pacers Nuggets game. I think he's probably talking to a lot of agents. He's trying to like do the Sean Payton
I
schmoozy
think Sean
thing.
Payton likes attention more
He
than he's
does.
willing to admit.
Yeah.
He kind of plays that like,
anonymous
relative
donors
to my
Yeah.
privacy. Leave me be.
Yeah.
But we know. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I think he likes that.
Yeah, and he and George Payton spoke
Mhm.
yesterday.
Yep.
And they had some interesting things to say. Maybe we will play some of that sound. But yeah, I think for the Broncos staff, not just Sean Payton, but George Payton and everyone else who's out there, they probably have a handful of guys they really want to take a look at. But also there's the pro days where you can get a closer look at people.
Yeah.
And so maybe they want to get taken by a guy they don't know anything about.
Right.
Maybe they're just going to trust their eyes and see who flashes, right? Who like, wow, I like the cut of his jib. I like the way he handles himself. I didn't even know about this dude.
I like his six-pack.
I love it, right? I love it. But then there's the medical evaluations as well. Pretty extensive medical stuff they have to submit to. And each team can ask you for something different medically. So you could actually get, 32 different x-rays on your knee, on the same knee. From different, I think I didn't
Were
go to
you
the
asked
combine.
any weird medical questions?
I wasn't at the combine.
Oh.
I wasn't invited. And
Who do I need to speak to about this horrible news that I'm hearing?
Who is responsible for the invites?
Right.
That's a very good question. I don't know. I would say, 80% of the guys who are there are going to get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys won't. Some guys won't even get signed. I mean, probably most of these guys will get signed to teams. Some of them will be free agents. But then there's guys who didn't get invited who are going to end up getting drafted. And so there's a lot of guys who that snub motivates them. Like, all right.
Oh, yeah.
I myself included. I thought I deserved to be invited. I was a, back-to-back first team All-American. And, I was a offensive player of the year in D3. I thought I deserved it, but I didn't. So, okay, that's fine. I did get to go to a pro day at San Jose State University because my school didn't have a pro day. It's a D3 school. So there are the pro days that allow you to do the things that even if you don't go to the combine, you can do that. Or you could do both. And that's what Shedeur Sanders is going to do. And we're going to talk about that Shedeur a little bit later, but he's at the combine. He's choosing not to do some of the drills, but he'll do some stuff here, at CU, where it's a more friendly environment, where his receivers are out there, where he can throw the ball with the balls that he wants to throw and kind of dial it up a little bit more specifically to what he's trying to do. So roundabout way to answer your question, I think the Broncos probably have the guys they really want. Like, put it this way. If they're thinking about drafting a certain guy with number 20, they're not going to talk to him at this combine. They're not even going to look at him. You know what I mean?
They're trying to play it like
playing
play
it cool.
it coy and
it's cool, like if you walk into a bar and there's a lady that catches your eye, you're not gonna walk right up to her. Well, maybe you are, but
no, I actually always say this, that
take your
if
time
if I'm in a room with somebody with like multiple men,
the
one that I'm flirting with, the one I'm talking to the most, I have a flirtatious personality, I think, just in general, because I can talk for days and laugh, and most things make me laugh, but the one I'm ignoring is the one that I probably like.
Right.
The one I'm talking to, I'm just like, hey buddy, you're my friend.
Yeah.
The one I'm completely don't even want to make eye contact with, that's the one I probably am crushing on.
And that's what George Payton did with Pat Surtain. And that's what
playing it cool and mysterious.
And that's what Sean and George did with Bo last year.
So who are they ignoring is what we need to figure out.
Who are the Broncos ignoring? That's who they want.
They're like little flirty teenagers.
You know, like
how cute of them.
Yeah, they go up and like they really like this girl, so they're gonna go talk to the girl's friend and not
see
even
how the
look
girl that they
at,
like
but not even look
responds.
at it. You know, yeah. And so I think that's where there's a
Mind
little
games.
bit of that. But every team's doing that to an extent.
Of
right?
course. But
It's-
do you think, in a sense, I think Sean Payton has a very unique and very, like, he knows what he likes. He's pretty stubborn about it. But that's also what makes him a great coach. Do you think, even in day-to-day practices, games, Sean Payton likes to throw a little mind game in there every once in a while to see how his guys respond?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I don't think it's all about football for Sean. I think he also thinks about the mentality of it. You know, he comes from that old school football where they were less athletic, so they had to tap into their football intelligence. So I think he likes to play around with that. And
every, you know, you got 53 guys on your football team, and every one of them is a different human being and responds differently to criticism, to encouragement, to tough love, all that stuff. So you got to get to know your guys, and you know, the same type of coaching style might not work for this guy as it does for this guy.
Yeah.
This guy might love for you to get in his ass and yell at him and call him names, but this guy doesn't. He shuts down.
Right.
So probably some of what they're doing is figuring out what these guys are like. The guy we like, can he handle a joke? Is he focused? Where's his head at? Because you want guys who respond to your coaching style. And Sean Payton, you know, psychology, I think, is very important part of what he does.
I agree.
You got to be it. You know, you got to tell them that you love them, but also tell them that it's not good enough what they're doing, and it's got to be better, or else we're going to replace that seat with someone else.
I learned that as a coach when I was doing just like high school dance coaching, is just like every person has a different love language. Everyone has a different coaching language as well.
Yeah.
So I could really get on somebody and simply look at them and say, is that what you were supposed to do?
Yeah.
No? Cool. Then don't do it again.
Yeah.
If I said that to one of my dancers, it was like, Mom, that she's the meanest. She hates me. Now I feel insecure. Now I'm not
Mom
gonna
come and say to you? Would Mom get mad?
Oh, moms knew better than to say anything to me.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yes.
Claws would come out?
Oh, yes. Well, I also felt like as a coach, I wanted to help teach my dancers to advocate for themselves. I don't want to hear from your mom. You're in high school. Mom can't follow you to college. And if she does, she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know, mom's got to let you fly.
Jay Cutler's dad followed him all the way to the NFL.
Well, that's, you know.
He was on the side, like on the sideline.
I would tell my
practice.
mom respectfully, I love you to death. I will call her as soon as I'm done with work today. I talk to her all the time.
Is she not watching right now?
She usually does. Actually, if I haven't gotten a call from her at this time, I know she's on lunch break right now from her little kindergartner. So I would imagine she's probably tuning in. Yeah. But that was something I had to learn. And it's actually, I just had this conversation with someone the other day about even my friends all have different love languages in the sense that they receive my advice differently based on how I deliver it. I have two sisters. I'm the oldest of four. The youngest is 12 years younger than me, and they could not be more opposite. So the way that I can talk to the youngest one, I cannot talk to my middle sister that way because she doesn't take it the same. So
do you go in a little bit of like big sister mode with your friends too? Like you're trying to like tell them what's good for them and what they should be doing?
So I am the friend that all of my friends go to dead last, because I am the friend that cannot sugarcoat anything. I will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And because of that, I have friends that will, you know, go around to their people. And then finally, when they're ready for the cold, hard truth and they're ready to just hear it the way it needs to be heard, that's usually when my phone rings.
Yeah.
But I have gained their respect because they know it's all rooted in love. I only want the best for my friends the same way I want them to hold me to a high standard. So yeah, I'm definitely big sister in a lot of ways, but I also, if you ask my friends, we can talk about this in very detailed stuff on a like lifestyle show. My gut intuition, I talk about it a lot on this show, but it is, I think, an actual superpower that God gave me.
Give me an example.
Okay, I have a funny one for you, and then we'll move on to the second quarter here.
Okay.
In my notes, and I will show you the notes, on December 14th, I wrote in my notes, I am in Vail BTW ... My friend, insert her name, is with child. I just know it. She found out she was pregnant 3 days before that and had not told a soul.
So what?
And I just had a feeling that I could not shake.
Were you around her and her man 3 months ago on a particularly exciting night?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was not. And she wasn't, it was one of those situations
Had
they
you
weren't
seen
really
her?
trying.
Was she glowing? Like, where was your feeling?
I had not seen her at that point. I just knew it was just in my gut intuition that she was. So then I was joking with her on New Year's Eve and I said, "Oh my gosh, look what I wrote in my notes. Ha 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 ha." And she was like, "Oh, you're so funny, Liv."
Oh,
And then when she walked me to the door, she was like, "Yeah, I don't know how you knew that, but it's true."
Yeah.
So that's one example of many. I could come up with like a million different ways that my gut has just told me something. And actually it's hard because sometimes I look like a hater. Like I'll meet someone and I'm like, I don't F with them like that. And everyone's like, they didn't do anything to you. I'm like, my gut's telling me otherwise.
Yeah, you should see what they do when they're at home alone, because I can feel it.
And then usually about 3 months later, I get a call from my friends and they're like, "How did you know that about this person?" I'm like, don't question the gut.
Okay.
I also, the same friend that is now pregnant, I had a gut feeling. I knew what the gender was, and bada bing, bada boom. And I was on the everyone else was on one side, and I was like,
of
nope.
the gender thing?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at
So
you.
again, I'm not saying it's perfect.
Okay.
But
well,
the psychology of humans
Yeah.
is important. That's the whole reason we're talking about this.
Well, I think Sean Payton would probably say he has a similar skill to you. And you have to be to run an organization like that.
Of course.
And to be able to say, okay, these are my 53 guys.
The psychology of football is just as important as the physical side of football. So I think what we're trying to say here is Sean Payton
knows when every single one of his players are pregnant.
Exactly what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're also saying we're also saying that when Sean Payton goes to these combines, he may not really care what your vertical is. He may not care how fast you run. He is treating the combine as an opportunity to tap into the psychology of these players. And that's his weapon. That's maybe what makes him such a successful coach.
Yep. That and chapstick, because his lips are very, very chapped. But with great power
Aquaphor,
comes
Sean.
great. Aquaphor is pretty awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. It's every night, Aquaphor.
Yeah.
And usually it's like my whole muzzle covered.
All right.
Yeah. Well, a little TMI for you on this fine Thursday about my bedtime routine. Okay. Let's get into the second quarter, shall we?
Yeah.
Second quarter, we are talking about position-specific. Woo!
This is we're doing what
Joker.
The Joker. Yeah.
The Joker. We're talking about the Joker.
That might be a previous.
It was.
So we've been hearing a lot.
What is a Joker?
Right. And we've been hearing a lot about that, right? What is
not
a Joker?
Nikola Jokic Joker, by the way.
No, not.
But could he be considered a Joker?
Probably not. Maybe.
Ooh.
Because the NFL version of a Joker, or at least the way Sean Payton talks about it, and he's been talking about it a lot. And he's really the only guy you hear this from is Sean Payton.
Yeah.
So what is a Joker? And the way Sean Payton breaks down the Joker, it is typically a running back or a tight end that has superior ball skills as far as catching the football and creates mismatch opportunities against the defense and really puts the defense in a bind. They're going to have to double team him sometimes. They're going to have to pay extra close attention to him sometimes. Yeah, and that his skill set is superior than the guy covering him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could be a little bit of Nikola Jokic.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And the Broncos need that guy. They need a guy who can, a tight end, for example, who can stretch the defense vertically, who can run every route in the route tree, who can get open versus man coverage. The reason why it's always a running back or a tight end versus like a corner,
right?
A receiver, is because cornerbacks cover receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the best cover guys on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But cornerbacks don't really usually cover tight ends.
Right.
And if they do, then that guy's a Joker because you need to put in a player who can cover him on
extra
him.
effort.
Typically, it's a linebacker or a safety cover at a tight end. And I made a transition from receiver to tight end, which was very hard as a blocker. But in the passing game, it was freaking easy because I had receiver skills, and now I'm going against linebackers and tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have been your Joker, Sean. It's not too late. We heard a report that Rob Gronkowski was coming out and he's training. He's coming back to the NFL. I'm also coming back. Okay. I've been training too.
You weren't supposed to tell them that yet.
Well, if the Rob Gronkowski thing's out, I got to put my name out now because we're both competing for the same job.
How do you feel about the Rob? If there is any truth to the rumor that Rob Gronkowski is coming to the Broncos.
No. There's no truth. this was a guy that I used to work with, and he's a nice enough guy, but he's also a guy who maybe falls for some
he falls for the
rumors
butt crack sports accounts.
Yeah, but he is a scout, so he's out there and he's talking to guys, and he thinks and anyway, somebody told him that Rob Gronkowski is training and he's coming back to the NFL and it's going to happen with the Broncos. But then Rob Gronkowski said, "No, I was just in Australia. I'm not working out." Like,
he's
what's
like,
going on?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so no, that's not happening.
Okay, so let's talk about then. You just explained what a joker is.
Right.
I've seen people say Marvin Mims is that guy for the Denver Broncos. Would you classify him there yet, or do you think he's trending that direction, but he's not there yet?
I don't think he's the classic kind of joker, what Sean Payton's talking about.
Okay.
Because I don't think he has the arsenal of route running skills that someone in that position would be. He's also a wide receiver. So you could call him a running back to put him in there in certain situations, but he's not an every down running back. He is a wide receiver. This is a gadget type of running back, situational package that they put in with Marvin. Like, we've seen him in the backfield maybe 10 times total.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think so. I think Deebo Samuel though kind of can be, even though he is technically a receiver, he's got running back skills and he does a lot of stuff in the middle of the field that is rare. Mm-hmm. And that is hard to teach. And he can break tackles like a lot of guys can't. And so part of that joker thing is about the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. It's not about the edges. It's not about the boundaries. Right. It's not about a receiver running a dope route on the outside. It's about guys taking advantage of the middle of the field. And Sean Payton and company need to improve a lot of positions in the middle of the field. Probably safety, probably middle linebacker, maybe even a interior defensive lineman, and then running back and tight end. Those are all players who play in the middle. And in the middle, it gets congested. But in the middle, the cover guys aren't as good on defense. So if you have a guy, a joker, who can run routes in the middle, like Antonio Gates or like, some of the guys Sean Payton has worked with in the past, then it could kind of unlock a level in this offense that we haven't seen yet.
So we've now seen reports that Deebo Samuel, there seems to not be interest from the Denver Broncos in Deebo Samuel at this point. I don't know the validity of that statement. I do know I have heard from Deebo, so I'm pretty close. I'm not going to say anything.
Well, you can't say I heard from him, and I'm not telling you.
All I'm going to say is,
that's like saying like you'll never guess what someone told me. Like,
I know,
what?
And then not
no,
saying
I
what
can't tell you.
Yeah, I know, it was horrible, but I think sometimes it's good for you to be uncomfortable.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
the people.
Fair. That's fair.
No. No, I have, he's keeping me pretty up to date on kind of where.
So who is
I don't know where he's going.
So what's happening?
I don't know, but I will say to the people that are listening is, for the whole show, I had said, Denver, come on. Like really joking, because at that point I really wasn't sure if he was leaving or staying in San Francisco. You of course see rumblings of fans being like, "Oh my gosh, it was time for them to part ways." We've also seen a statement where John Lynch basically said he wanted to be set free, so we set him free. If you love something, set it free. Yep. So it sounds like
if it comes back, it's meant to be.
Right. And I actually spoke to Deebo right after that conversation that he had with John and with Kyle Shanahan, and he said it was good. It was emotional, of course, because they love him dearly, but they mutually agreed to just, do what's best for both parties.
Does Deebo want to leave one of the best teams in the NFL with one of the smartest offensive coaches, a front office and management that just is committed to doing things the right way, and they've been so successful. They love him so much. What is it?
I don't know. I really don't know
just
that. I have not like heard him say this is why I want to leave, but I do think that there's a lot of firepower on that offense. And so it would be selfish of Deebo to expect the ball every game when you've got a George Kittle and you've got a Juwan Jennings. Yeah. And that just
it's hard though. For a guy like Deebo, you should expect the ball every game. And
I will tell you,
it's hard to not.
Of course he wants that, right? And he knows what he's capable of, and he knows what he works for and what he deserves. And so then when there is a game that Brock says, I'm gonna get Deebo the ball more. He wants the ball more because Deebo tweeted it. I'm gonna get him the ball more.
And then boop, drops it.
Deebo, right. So It's like, and then it's kind of an impossible situation.
But then at the same time, you drop the ball. Who cares? It happens.
But I think they have a culture on that team where it's like,
No, I don't think so. Because I think that the culture definitely is about excellence and about taking advantage of opportunities, but they know who Debo is.
of course. And
He's been playing at a high level.
Say,
so what I'm saying is one drop, we're not going to go away from you from a drop, Debo. You're one of our best players. So if that is like, oh, we can't get it, Debo's not ready for it, we're going to move off of him, that tells you something's wrong also there. If you're not like, all right, let's get it back to Debo. Debo just is one of our best players. He's not in his groove. He dropped the ball. Throw it back to him. Let's keep throwing it to him until he gets out of this.
And I think that's what I mean by culture is I think there maybe felt like, whether it was actually there or not, it maybe felt like there was a pressure of like, well, we tried.
Yeah.
You know, and I again, some of that could just be how, and I'm not speaking for Debo. I don't want anyone to think that, but just based on having conversations with him, even the ones that are up on YouTube that you can go watch yourself, you know, I think that not only was Debo frustrated with himself, but he was also on a team where there's a lot of talent. So in those moments where you do get the ball more, you want to be the best guy out there. And there's a lot of talent on that team. So I don't know, maybe it was just, in my brain, it's like, okay, maybe Debo's just ready for like being a big fish in a smaller pond for a second. Because that's a big pond over there. Yeah. That's an ocean. 49ers, they got a lot of good things going for them. Yeah. A lot of talent,
but there's also,
coached.
It's like, maybe he can see that it's starting to go like this a little bit.
Maybe.
Because all those guys, they've been playing so much football. They've gone to either the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship, so they played extra games every year.
It's exhausting.
They're starting to get older. They're starting to get worn down.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's trouble in paradise because they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. So what happens? There's not as much money for everyone else anymore. You got Trent Williams.
So much
you got
on the
Nick
back
Bosa.
end,
You got all those. It's not just a couple guys that are studs. You got a lot of studs there.
What do you think? What is your thought really quick? Because we are talking about Debo because Debo is a joker. I think you can make a case for him being exactly what we're talking about here. What is your thought on the Broncos fans that don't want Debo because they think he's a diva?
I don't think that's
because the fans know as much as any.
I don't think that's a valid criticism, but they don't know him. They don't know him. They don't know what kind of teammate he is. They don't know what kind of work ethic he has. I was on the 49ers with Terrell Owens for a short time. He had a really bad rap as a diva. And later in his career, he did do some things to draw some attention to himself. But prior to that, on the football field, he was a great teammate. He worked his ass off. Nobody worked harder every day at practice, and nobody brought, harder in the weight room, harder on the field. He fell asleep in meetings sometimes, but whatever. So
we're all tired a little every once in a while.
Yeah, I think that the frustrations with the 49ers' difficult season would led people to think that Debo is a diva because of that incident on the sideline where he got into it with a long snapper, and maybe there's a couple other things going on. Now he's got this podcast going on, and it's like, what is going? Yeah,
Liv Moods is distracting the 49ers offense. No,
did you have anyone kind of like blame you for the problems with the 49ers?
I actually didn't get a ton of that. No,
good, because
I didn't.
But it is like because Sean Payton wants anonymous donors. He doesn't want people who have podcasts. Like, would he? I mean,
Sean, the whole NFL might be off limits then. I feel like that's the direction players are heading.
But coaches don't like it. Like,
of course not.
Like Micah Parsons has his, and now there's like people talking about that. Like he's got to stop his podcast. Like,
well, you know why they don't like
culture
it?
Issues.
Because people like to keep their dirty laundry inside the house.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's not. Right. I don't blame them at all.
So it takes a skilled kind of orator or like podcaster to not air any of the dirty laundry, but also provide good content and talk about things people are interested in.
I will say that is one thing I will give absolute credit to Debo for. There were a lot of conversations he and I had off camera, off the mic, when the mic wasn't hot.
Yeah.
Where it was just friend to friend. And
what'd you guys talk
about? But when that mic was on, he was always thinking about the best interest of his team and having the most respect for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan at all times. There would be times where we would end the show and he would look at me and he was like, you were poking. You were trying to get me to say stuff. And I'm like, Debo, that is kind of my job here. Yeah. But he never, you could go back and watch every bit of content that we had this season. He always maintained nothing but professionalism and respect for his team. Even if I was like, okay, I know you're frustrated today because you're a little bit grumpier than normal, and you just told me you're frustrated. Let's dive into that. And he never would, because I think, again, there is stuff that any player in the NFL could say about their team that is maybe not stuff that coaches want out in the universe. So yeah, I had a lot of, private conversations with Debo where he expressed, and I felt very happy about that, because it meant that he trusted me as a co-host and a friend. And so I will maintain that respect with him, because he has been one of the most respectful players I've ever worked with. But yeah, he never ever let the people know, where his mind was at throughout the season. And I think it was a frustrating season for everybody over there.
Yeah.
So easy to get on a mic and just go, Micah Parsons does that a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's definitely very honest on his show. But yeah, he maintained pretty good respect. So the Joker.
Yeah,
Joker.
To put a bow
Debo.
on it, just because they're saying now that they're not interested doesn't mean they're not interested. There's a lot of things have to fall. Well, the pieces, fall into place in different ways. And Sean Payton and George Payton talked about it. You can't just pick up where you left off from the previous season, because a lot of guys you thought were going to be there aren't. Guys fall to you that you didn't think were going to be there. There's a lot of moving parts. 30% or so of the roster gets turned over every year. So it's always a new team. So we're going to have an entirely new Broncos team here next year. And
I don't think I stand by any person that thought Debo wasn't going to be an upgrade in any way for this Broncos team. It's just a casual and a hater.
Agreed.
On that note, halftime. Bang. There it is. Halftime. Okay, we're going to talk about
Yeah, we got our friend, though. We're going to bring him in.
We do have our friend.
Yeah.
We are going to bring him in, but we are going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Question mark.
What do
you think about that? Let's get your thoughts, and then we'll bring in our friend and get his thoughts as well.
My thoughts are, Pete Carroll's there now. Tom Brady's involved now. They don't have a quarterback, and they need one. And so they're either going to draft one, or they're going to go after a guy with a ton of experience. Yeah. Both of those guys have a ton of experience. I'd probably be more scared as a Broncos fan, not scared, but annoyed with Matt Stafford going there than Aaron Rodgers.
For sure.
But you never know. Good old A-Rod might have a season or two left up his sleeve. But you think he's done?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because part of his problem is an attitude issue that I just don't think. I think it's who he is.
Well, the Jets, I did see, got voted in the NFLPA survey. They got an F from the players, from like management ownership stuff. So maybe it was just a very unhappy locker room that's being treated like crap by their owners.
But you know what? As a veteran, you tell your young guys, I know this sucks, but we still got to play some football.
Yeah.
He was throwing tantrums for 4 quarters all season long. Come on. Let's figure it out. But yes, as a Broncos fan, I would much rather go head to head against an Aaron Rodgers than a Matthew Stafford.
But either way, it's not going to be easy. Aaron Rodgers knows how to win football games, but I don't know if the Raiders are that close. You know what I'm saying? Because they were pretty bad.
They got a lot of stuff to work on.
They do. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's bring in our very own Brandon Chris Stahl and see how he's feeling about the potential of Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford to the Raiders. BK, hello.
How are you? Don't let me get out of here, though, without commenting on the Debo stuff, but we can definitely start with the quarterbacks, with Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford's futures. I do know, I guess I should move my water bottle from the camera there. I do know that the league has no issue with Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady being in the same vicinity on a ski trip, because they both live in or have ski houses in the same town in Montana or whatever it is. And because the Rams have given Matthew Stafford and his representatives permission to seek a trade, find a trade partner that might be viable. I do know that Tom Brady would love Matt Stafford, but if I'm Stafford and it really is about the money, then it'll be interesting to see, does he care that the team's just not that good? No matter how good of a salesperson Tom Brady is, the Raiders need to upgrade so much that him going there is going to be a step back. And by the way, you've got a division that has Justin Herbert, a young Bo Nix, and of course, Patrick Mahomes and those coaches that you're dealing with. So it won't be any easier. Now there's a tax-free state and all of that. I understand why the Giants really would want Matthew Stafford, because you've got Brian Daboll and Joe Shane trying to keep their jobs after the season they had. And so I think that it's just one of situations where the Rams don't want to pay him $50 million a year over the next 2 years, and he wants to play another 2 years, is what we're hearing. And so, if they move on, could Aaron Rodgers end up with the Rams? That's something that I'm hearing. I do know that the Raiders GM John Spytek and David Dunn were in the same vicinity. They were in the same vicinity last night, but I don't know if they ever actually talked about Aaron Rodgers. There wouldn't be any issue there, because obviously the Jets have informed Aaron and informed the world that they're moving on from him. So no tampering concerns there, but just probably trying to get the lay of the land on what Aaron's thinking, if David Dunn even has any insight. But as I told Nate earlier in the week, Liv, that's what happens at the combine as much as anything. As much as it's about getting to know the prospects and all that, it's about talking to agents, sometimes under the guise of, oh, well, I have this player of yours and their contract's up, but by the way, let's talk about so-and-so that's on another team. And the league certainly can't really police that. But in Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford's cases, their representatives are free to talk to any team executives, ownership, whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we kind of both, our eyes kind of lit up a little bit when you said Rodgers to the Rams.
Yeah.
Nate, how do you feel hearing that from BK as a potential?
The Rams are good.
Yeah.
The Rams were one of the hottest teams in the NFL at the end of the season there. They won a playoff game. They went into Detroit and lost that one, right? But they have a good team. They have some great I guess they're going to probably get rid of Cooper Kupp, though, right? Is he going to end up somewhere else? But they got Puka Nacua and, what's his
and Devontae Adams could be part of wherever Aaron Rodgers wherever Aaron Rodgers ends up. Do you think
Devontae's going to want to do that after this failed experiment last year?
Right.
In New York?
I feel like I would be a little frustrated.
Maybe the magic is gone, man.
I think it depends on where Aaron Rodgers lands. Does he want to go back to Vegas? Maybe not. Does he want to check out the Rams? Maybe. I don't know what the market is for him. I don't know what goes into, will the Jets just cut him? Will they try to trade him? How much is left on that deal? There can't be too much left on it in terms of money that anyone, the Raiders are paying the bulk of whatever dead money. And so the Jets might have some of that, but I haven't spent too much time digging because you just don't know how much Devontae Adams really has left. And that would actually be an okay segue to, I'm not trying to pick on your friend Debo, but there are certainly people that I've talked to that think his body has broken down to the point where they wouldn't be in a hurry to trade for him. And I get the sense that the Broncos are on that list, that the Broncos, like what they have in Marvin Mims, they know what Debo's talent is, but because he hasn't ever played a 17-game season and the pounding that he's taken at his size and some of the hits that he's taken, I just don't think the Broncos are going to be in the market to try to trade for Debo. But I've been surprised before. I would feel comfortable saying, though, I don't think they're going to be talking to former Bronco Hall of Famer and your teammate, Nate, John Lynch, about Debo, at least with any real seriousness on Denver's side.
So to what extent do the Broncos' excellence in with their training staff and their ability to keep guys healthy factor into taking on a guy with some injury issues in the past? Maybe they feel like they can fix him and keep him healthy, whereas other teams couldn't.
Because the 49ers had Debo was not the only person dealing with injuries over there. There were quite a few.
Yeah.
No question. And if anyone has confidence in their training staff, certainly the medical side, because we know that the player grade they were ranked 30th in their strength and conditioning program, but that was a B or something. So I'm not exactly sure how that was weighted in the players survey. Because B feels good no matter what, but especially in maybe that area, but somehow it came out 30th. But we know on the medical side with bringing in Bo Lowry and the success that you have to call it success, the lack of injuries, the first 2 years he's been in Denver, you have to give him and his staff credit. And so I guess if anybody thought they could do that, but I guess it's also the idea of, is he damaged goods? Are we trying to fix something that can't be fixed all the way? It can be fixed some and can be mitigated and managed. I understand the excitement about Debo, but I think they're excited about what Marvin Mims has done and can do. They're not the same player. You can't hand him the ball the way you can hand Debo the ball, but you can get creative. And he's obviously younger, healthier, and maybe faster right now. Of at least straight line speed. We know how shifty Debo can be and how good he is with the ball in his hands. I just don't think the Broncos are going to be in the market for Debo. Liv, as much fun as it would be to have him come to the Gorilla Studios and do the Debo podcast with you there. I don't know if it's in the cards.
Listen, I have spoken to Debo. I have heard from him recently. He's keeping me very close to all the, where his mind's at and how everything is going. And at the end of the day, I just want to see him thrive. I want to see him on a team that utilizes his skill set.
You want to see him happy.
I want to see him happy. And that is genuinely all I care about. So I've already told myself if it doesn't work out in Denver, wherever he ends up, I just want him to be thriving.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see him end up in Kansas City. And you have to cheer for the Chiefs.
I think he would be I think it would be really tough. That would be a tough pill for him to swallow. It absolutely is. But I think he's got a lot of naturally a lot of hatred for that.
It feels like
you probably hate him a little less.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels like he's going to end up somewhere that has cap space and doesn't have a great roster.
But why would you want to go to a bad team?
I'm not saying he wants to go there. I'm saying if the Niners move on and he doesn't have a no trade clause, so I guess he can just hold out once he's traded. At least I don't believe he has a no trade clause. But I'm just throwing a team out there, a team like Tennessee that's like, hey, we're going to give you a new 3-year, $80 million deal to go with your move here kind of thing. And that makes you a little happier. And Tennessee's no state income tax either. I'm not saying that's happening, but that just feels like the type of place where he may land more so than on a contender, unless the price tag's so low and it doesn't come with a new contract. But you have to think he wants a new contract, and you understand why he does.
Yeah.
One more quick question before we get into the third quarter, and you can join us for the third and fourth quarters, Brandon,
awesome.
if you have time. But Rob Gronkowski to the Broncos, is that happening?
I don't think it's happening. I feel more comfortable in saying that they're not acquiring Debo than I am in saying Gronk isn't coming back, but it's close. And I think it's 99% not happening, but you have to leave that 1% open. And then there's all that funny video that's out there from Sean after he took the Broncos job, trying to get Gronk to where they're at Fox together still, and he's trying to get him to come to the Broncos, and he crosses out the B and puts a G for Broncos. He retired early. You talk about a guy that was banged up and his body, didn't necessarily break down, but certainly gave him problems, which is why he didn't finish every season, including one of the ones where they won a Super Bowl in New England. He's probably got some good football in him, but he's not as young as he once was.
For 4 years, he's not coming back.
4 years is a long time. I think I'm with you, Nate. I don't think he is either. I think it was a fun kind of silly story, and it's gotten almost no traction here other than it seems silly, but Gronk's a wild card, and so maybe he tries. The crazier story that's out there right now is the JJ Watt one that he then backed up on Dan Patrick's show this week, because he owns the soccer team Burnley, which is in the second division in England, just out of the Premier League. They got knocked down last year, and now they're maybe going to get back up. And their goalie is a big Bengals fan, so he had a good game or whatever, and he says, JJ, I want you to come out of retirement and play for my Bengals. And JJ's like, well, if you go the rest of the year without giving up a goal, then I'll do it. Absolutely. 13 games later, he's now 1 game away when Burnley plays again this weekend. If this keeper has another clean sheet, he's going to set a record for all of English football in the history of English football. A keeper's never gone. He's tied it now at 13. A keeper's never gone 14 games without giving up a goal, because even in a sport where they don't always score a lot of goals, someone still gives up a goal. They have 12 or 13 games left, but JJ, I heard him with Dan Patrick, and he's like, look, I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain. He's like, that would be so ridiculous. He goes, I don't know if the Bengals will want me. And I don't think that this keeper can go 13 more games without giving up a single goal. But I think that that's more likely that JJ Watt comes back before Gronk.
All right.
There you go. If it rains tomorrow, he's returning to football.
Yeah.
No.
It's mostly on the Burnley keeper. So
love it.
Cool. Well, let's get into the third quarter.
Yeah.
Third quarter. What do we got for the
We're talking about Travis Hunter.
Yeah, let's talk. We're not going to play the whole clip because he spoke, and we'll have that up on our socials.
We'll put spoke in quotes.
The what?
So put spoke in quotes. He was on a podium for 11 minutes. I'll give you. He didn't answer one question for more than 10 seconds. I don't think. Maybe the one about what Dion means to him, and there was one other one in there that was like. And when I say over 10 seconds, it maybe got to then 15 or 18 seconds. Talking to our pal Romy, honestly, she put 3 together to get to 20.
There was hundreds of people there, right?
It was the most crowded. It often is with whoever's going to be the top pick or a Heisman winner or someone who might fall into the category of both. So like I remember when Joe Burrow was here, it was the same kind of thing. And so that's not necessarily a big surprise that he had that big of a crowd. But then every question, he gave 3 next questions because he just didn't even feel like answering it. Every answer was 10 seconds or less. And he couldn't hear the questions because of how big the crowd was and where people were shouting from. We could hear his answers okay, but they don't have the speakers up that loud because there's all these podiums next to each other, although he didn't have another player next to him. And it just seemed like he was going out of his way to not want to engage. He was smiling and seemed like he's in an okay mood. But he hadn't done a press conference. I was reminded of this since after their opening game against North Dakota State. He did 4 at the Heisman, but he didn't meet with the media in Boulder or on the road after any of their road games or during the week at all, during the Tuesday and Wednesday media availabilities, or after any games after the first game against North Dakota State.
So he's not polished at all with the media. Maybe
I think he is. I think he just didn't want to.
He's not. Hold on, BK. He's not used to doing that. He doesn't feel comfortable. And all of a sudden, you put him in a room with 5. No, it's not this. It's true. You put him there with 500 people, and the guy probably was having a panic attack.
Which is fair, but do you also think, because we talk about the psychology of
do coaches look down on that moment?
Do coaches find that to be off-putting?
I don't think so. Like, unless he's a quarterback.
I was going to say quarterbacks probably held to a bit of a
quarterbacks
different
have to be able to handle that moment. He's the Heisman winner.
Yeah.
His talent is transcendent. Coach Prime has talked about what a great young man he is. There are no bad reports of him being a turd out there.
I mean, I'm a huge fan.
Exactly. And so I don't think that, having a performance like that in front of you folks, Brandon, is going to knock him down. But you tell me what you think.
I agree 100%. It just makes it hard for those of us who are in the media biz and the content creation biz to try to find something useful out there. Now, there's some stuff on our Guerrilla Sports social channels that we pulled, and they're all 10 or 12 second clips because and we have the whole press availability up there too as well. He just wasn't in the mood to really engage. I mean, this is a guy that there's hours worth of Twitch streams that he's been on, and he knows
how to talk.
He knows how to talk. He has his own podcast, and I saw him doing that at the Super Bowl, and he knows how to. It felt like he was almost Bill Belichick style. Now he wasn't gruff and wasn't looking down on the media, but it just felt like he just wanted to get in and get out. He started a minute or two late. He ended about 3 or 4 minutes early. He only went, right around 11 minutes when he was scheduled for 15. Then I think he did 1 or 2 national things, like with Chris Sims and Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk, and maybe one other deal, Sirius XM or something. And then he was out. And I don't know if anybody even asked him if he was going to work out. I don't know what the expectation is there. I know that Shedeur will be here tomorrow to talk, and he's not throwing. We know that. But I don't think it hurt his draft stock one bit because he's super smart, academic All-American 2 years in a row, super smart football player. And he did kind of talk about how he would spend more time going to coaches' offices to get the other part of the game plan, but that he's open to being used however a team wants to use him. He just wants to play on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I see. We've talked about this before, and I just don't see a world in which he's doing what he did in CU at the NFL level, simply because of the preparation that it takes to be able to be on the field with your teammates, executing a game plan that's very detailed. You need to be in the same meeting with these guys all day long, all week long. And so if I'm playing both positions on opposite sides, well, I'm missing half of my meeting time with both sides. And so am I going to be making mental errors out there that are going to cost us the game, even though I'm physically more talented than anybody out there? You put me in these positions where I don't know everything that's going on. Of course, he's a really intelligent guy, and his ability to process and learn these game plans is probably really, really high. But at the same time, the nuance and the detail with which you go over the game plan, the corrections, the mistakes throughout the week, and we're going to do this when we see this and that, there's just no way you're going to see everything that your teammates see in that same meeting room. So I think he'll be a corner, and every play corner with a package on offense, and they'll see how he absorbs that. Maybe in year 3, 4, 5, 6 in the NFL, he'll end up being that guy that we saw at CU, but definitely not right off the bat.
Well, one other thing on Travis, talking to a couple people, Andrew Berry, who is our pal Shelby Harris's boss with the Browns as a GM, he said he sees him as a receiver first. And then I talked to a defensive coordinator in the league. I said, what do you think of Travis Hunter? Because these guys are just kind of getting into this evaluation, and I have no idea how much this defense coordinator watched him play yet. He goes, I play him at receiver first, and then figure out how to use him on defense where it made sense, similar to the way Bill Belichick used I'm drawing a blank on who was the receiver that he had play corner.
Troy Brown, maybe.
Yeah, Troy Brown in goal line, red zone. It was out of necessity
because they had no more healthy corners.
I was going to say, I think it's also going to depend on the team's needs.
Yeah,
but sure. But the thought was,
how do you put a package for a corner to go in sometimes? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Straight man, I guess, if it's straight man.
But then you're coming off the bench and you're going to go guard their receiver for one play and then go back off. It's just like the defensive players need to be in a rhythm. They need to be out there every play.
Yeah, but the thought was the reason you make him a primary receiver is just that what's the hardest thing to do in the league, and you know this as well as anybody, it's get the ball in the end zone. Right. And what's his most elite trait is his ability to catch the football and score as well as any of these receivers in this league. I mean, in this draft. So I can understand the argument. That doesn't mean that whoever ends up taking him is going to see it that way. This is just one defensive coach that told me this yesterday.
Whatever, BK. Just kidding. All right, let's get into that fourth quarter.
Do we want to play? Do we want to hear a bit of Travis Hunter's clip?
Do we have a clip or do we have?
We have one queued up. Yeah, so we can go ahead. Let's just take a listen really quick, get an idea for what BK was talking about, the very short answers here, get a feel for what Travis Hunter has got to say at the combine, and then we'll get into the fourth quarter.
What's up? I don't know about returning. I already got 2 jobs on my hand.
Travis, you're from South Florida. What do you think produces the best cousin, Florida or Georgia?
I grew up in Florida, but, I was a Georgia boy at the end of the day, but I'll say for Florida.
Travis, you know about the financial press that you just like?
Nah, that's not my focus right now.
Travis, what do you know about Green Bay, and are you excited to kind of begin your career as a draft in Atlanta?
Yeah, definitely excited to, get out there and, get my name called, but I don't know nothing for real about Green Bay.
What was your decision to come and work out at DB? What was behind it?
There was no decision. I mean, I'm listed as both.
What were your impressions of the Jaguars?
My impressions of the Jaguars, I don't want to get no impressions on any team, but all the teams that I met with, I had good impressions with.
Travis, you know what the career that you've done in college football, Heisman, Lincoln, Ben Derrick, Cordell Points. Do you feel like that you stamped yourself as one of the 10 best college football players to ever play the game?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I stamped myself. I mean, I have some of the top awards and the biggest award in college football, so I feel like, I stamped myself.
Travis, one of your biggest plays in college was that pick against TCU, breaking down Is that something you saw on film or more mistakes of things?
Definitely something we saw on film and definitely something we worked on in practice, but it was definitely an instinctive thing.
Travis, people came here and a lot of people were upset with what you see them not being able to get here. How did you feel? Not only Colorado, but winning this year.
I feel like I put on good, and I hope they accept me for doing what I did.
That's probably good.
Next up.
I mean,
we can
wrap it up there.
Travis.
You got the idea.
Yeah, here's the deal. I mean, I do think some of that has to do with the fact that he isn't polished. He's young. He's got a lot to learn, of course. The media training aspect of being in the NFL is probably sometimes just as hard for these players who don't like to talk in front of a microphone. But again, knowing he does have a podcast, he is on Twitch streams for hours on end. I think he probably could have provided a little bit more just so that the world can get to know you.
Yeah.
Like we don't know you outside of maybe the coach, the big Coach Prime umbrella. And so this is an opportunity for you to kind of make your mark and show people who you are in the next phase of your career. So would have appreciated a little more, but I do know, I think with some media training, those things.
Well, the thing is, he should have media training now.
Kind of why I'm not giving him as much grace.
All the agents and stuff. I mean, I don't even know if he has. Did he have an agent, BK?
I heard. So this is just a fun coincidence, but I heard he ended up going with Young Money Sports, which is Lil Wayne's agency. Now, Lil Wayne has real agents that handle the agent part, but Lil Wayne is I think the primary investor in it or was initially. And so I think that's who he hired. The funny thing is, like, Lil Wayne was there at the Heisman. He said he didn't even know Lil Wayne's music till his girlfriend turned him onto it. And I do think this is a total coincidence. But so Lil Wayne's playing a concert here tonight at the basketball arena where the Nuggets played on Monday. So I don't know if Travis Hunter is going to be there. But I guess it wouldn't be the craziest thing.
Here's what I'm hearing is there's probably a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that's maybe messing with him a little bit right now.
I
Like,
think so.
he didn't even know who Lil Wayne was. His girlfriend liked him, and then now he's at the Heisman, and now he's represented by them and the agent stuff. He got a lot of online hate for him and his relationship, and had to defend the girl. So it's not just about football. Like, these are young men dealing with life situations that are probably getting pretty sticky. I mean, mo money, mo problems, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's made a lot of money already, so he has a good amount of money in the bank. But with that comes a lot of people who are hangers on. We're trying to pull you in different directions. He's trying to stay focused on, the prize in front of him, and sounds like, and maybe that performance right there was indicative of a guy who's distracted.
Yeah, I mean, he did stay in the same hotel as I at the Super Bowl week that I was out
Travis,
there.
huh?
Yeah, and there was a moment where one of the people that I work very closely with was in the lobby, and Travis and his girlfriend walked by, and a bunch of people were trying to say hello, and the girlfriend kind of told them to back off. So maybe she has more control in his life than we know, and her word is kind of sacred, and we know she became very frustrated with media and all the things, and so
maybe she's running the show now.
Yeah, you just never know. You never know what's going on behind closed doors, but let's get into fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Let's get into the fourth quarter. We are going to talk about Shedeur now. Shedeur versus Cam Ward. Who is QB1? Should we start with BK's thoughts on this? BK, what are your thoughts here? Who's QB1?
The consensus, and so rather than just giving my thoughts and quarterback breakdown, talking to enough people who are the real NFL decision makers, they see Cam Ward ahead of Shedeur almost unanimously. It's more a question of how close Shedeur is to Cam, and what's the separation between Shedeur and then the next couple quarterbacks, which is Jackson Dart and Tyler Shook from Louisville, who that's, I think, his second or third school. And Tyler Shook isn't the youngest guy. In fact, he was Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon. That's how old he is.
35? How old is he?
Yeah, no, I think he's like 25, 24, 25.
Wow.
But Bo Nix turned 25 the other day. So the Cam Ward has more raw tools that Shedeur had to ad-lib a lot, and then people bring up Caleb Williams or even Russell Wilson now versus Russell Wilson when he was so athletic and able to let the ball rip. That they're maybe worried about that, but he didn't have a lot of help up front his first year. So
BK, what are those raw tools you're talking about that Cam Ward possesses but Shedeur doesn't?
Well, he's bigger. He's noticeably bigger. He's faster, and the ball jumps out of his hand. Like, there's a noticeable arm strength gap. And the fact that they're working out together a bunch, and you've seen those videos, and Shedeur talking trash to him and this and that. There are plenty of criticisms on Cam Ward. Neither of those guys would be, according to the draft experts and then some of the football folks I talked to that actually work for teams, would be ahead of the top three from last year. And everyone unanimously had Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May there, and neither Cam nor Shedeur would be ahead of those guys, and they'd probably be behind Penix and Bo Nix, but perhaps maybe ahead of McCarthy because of McCarthy's just age and how raw they think he still is, and how much room he has to grow. But so that those guys would still last year not have been unanimous top 5, top 10 kind of picks. And this year they're going to almost certainly be, because we know how much the quarterback market is. But Shedeur can help himself with these conversations with teams. I don't know if you saw, because remember he made the Giants cleats at the bowl game at the Alamo Bowl. He was walking around Indy yesterday, and there were some videos caught of him. He had like 6 hats from all these teams, from the Vikings, the Browns, the Titans, the Jaguars. I mean, he just had all these hats on his backpack. Like, he could put any one of them on draft night.
Trying to throw people off a little.
The insinuation, and just having a little fun with it. I do know this. He's not represented by Lil Wayne. He's not represented by anyone. He has no agent at this point, because he doesn't think he needs one. They'll have a lawyer or some of the business people that they deal with handle looking at his contract, but these contracts are slotted, and he doesn't need an agent to do his bidding with the team. Oh, you got to draft my guy. So we'll see how that is welcomed by teams as well.
It's interesting how the NIL money is affecting sort of this process. George Payton talked about it a little bit before, about how you get to see how a guy reacts with having money
Mhm.
And if he still handles himself the right way, or if he turns into an idiot. But also, like,
Do you think he's turning into an idiot?
no. What I'm
I
saying,
didn't know if you were drawing a parallel to.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, you give these guys money ahead of time, and they become a little wiser to the game before they get there.
Yeah.
And they don't need an agent as much. They don't
Assistance.
need someone to be like, here, this is no, I already got a couple million, or I got $5 million in the bank. I can actually just kind of talk to people that have money too,
Right.
and start to get a plan without relying on this system to kind of guide me and hold my hand through it.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
it seems like Coach Prime is also a guider
Great resource.
and a hand leader, and
Yeah.
he is a resource for these athletes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Shedeur's got him in his bloodline, which definitely helps. He can call him at any moment, and I'm sure any question he has can be answered. But it seems like Coach Prime is trying to shape these young men to kind of do a lot of this on their own.
Which I like,
I absolutely adore it.
because, some agents do a lot, but most don't really do that much for a player. Like, what I mean, yes, their relationships with other teams do matter, and they're able to hear things and kind of, but for the most part, it's your ability as a football player that's going to get you that opportunity. And then how you take advantage of that opportunity is what's going to let you stay.
Yep.
And then once they sign you to that contract, they don't really do anything until the next contract comes around.
Mhm.
So what
You
are they?
know what's-
Go
Well, I was
ahead.
just thinking, though, it's interesting about this process, and I'll see if I can find out some details from some of the teams that he's going to be talking to, is because he doesn't have an agent. Presumably, a team's personnel, somewhere along the personnel chain, a GM, a coach, if they want to have Shedeur in for the top 30 visit, because each team can bring 30 guys into their building. If they want to set up Zooms, because they can have, I think, an unlimited number of those. If they want to have a private workout around his pro day, and as I mentioned to Nate the other day, they're not called pro days anymore, at least at CU and across the Big 12. They're called showcases, but it's still going to be look just like a pro day. But I guess they're going to reach out to Shedeur directly, which in some ways a team probably likes, because it's going to give them a jump start on their communication with their quarterback. Sean Payton talked about Bo Nix has been, or George, one of them had said in their media availability, Bo's been around almost every day, and we know he had his knee scoped, and so he's obviously doing some rehab, but that he's stopping by the office to talk. And so they know they can get a hold of Bo Nix if they want, but giving these guys kind of a jump start on dealing with Shedeur directly, not dealing with an agent, not dealing with an intermediary, not dealing with his dad. If a GM or a coach can reach directly out to the prospect, then that might allow them to fortify that relationship a little more. So he may be ahead of the game in some respects, because he's building true relationships, if you want to call it that, with these teams that are trying to decide, do they want to draft him at, one of these early spots? Do they want to trade up? Do the Jets fall in love with them? And do Moods and Aaron Glenn want to trade up to 1 or 2 to try to get Shedeur Sanders? Or do the Raiders want to jump up a couple spots? Because Tom Brady, who's known him for a long time, really wants him to be the quarterback of the Raiders. If he doesn't get Matt Stafford, who knows?
Who'd you say got their knee scoped?
Bo Nix, I think that was the reason he didn't play in the Pro Bowl. They said he had a little procedure, and then I heard it was a knee scope.
Broken back and knee surgery, rookie year. Keep an eye on that. We need this guy.
We'll break that down on the next show.
We'll break it down on the next show. But Bo Nix, he's kind of an important player.
Yeah, just a little.
Kind of need that guy.
Just a little.
BK, before we let you go here, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So really, it really is about where this guy, Shedeur, ends up as to how his career is going to go, right? I mean, you mentioned a couple teams there that might want him, but it's we see a lot of great college quarterbacks end up on bad NFL teams and then just squander their talent and end up being considered not successful or failures in the NFL. So what is the best fit, do you think, for Shedeur?
As I'm thinking through it and thinking about in New York, we don't know if the play caller is going to be any good. He's just never done it. He's a younger guy that Aaron Glenn brought over to call plays. So do the Jets make sense? Brian Daboll might be a good fit with the Giants, and he has Malik Neighbors to throw to. Then thinking about a team like the Raiders, not only does he have Tom Brady to talk to all the time and it not be tampering, or some sort of inappropriate dialogue, he has Pete Carroll, a Super Bowl winning coach, and Chip Kelly is the play caller with the Raiders. I don't know how many people are paying attention to that either. And so Chip Kelly as a play caller, we know how creative he can be, and maybe to his own detriment when he was the head coach of the Eagles, but Ohio State's offense looked pretty good this year. They won a national championship. And so I do think that the Raiders, where the expectation is going to be lower off the bat, You're not dealing with New York media like you might with the Giants or Jets. And I'm not saying he can't handle the media, but it's just less in Vegas. There's just less people around, and they're a newer team to that area, not to the region, obviously. So as I sit here and think about it, Tennessee and Cleveland, I really like the GM because I've known him for a long time. I've known Brian Callahan since he was an assistant with the Broncos, but I don't know if it's going to work, and their roster is a disaster. The Browns are the Browns, and they're always going to be the Browns, even if Kevin Stefanski's a good coach. And Shelby Harris is one of our favorite people. Don't know what's going on with Myles Garrett. So the more I think about it, the Raiders feel like the best fit for Shedeur of the teams we think that are in that quarterback market for one of these rookies.
Well, that would be fun, having him around, getting to play him twice a year and whooping up on him.
Exactly. That's all I care about.
Yep.
Well, BK, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Continue to keep crushing it out there in Indy and getting us all the best content. You're a rock star, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
Later, BK.
I hope to see you next week. Yeah, tomorrow, Shedeur, LeJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn Jr., and I'm drawing a blank on the whiteout from Torrey Horton from CSU are all talking tomorrow morning. So we'll have all that stuff for everybody out there. So thanks so much, yes.
Great. Thanks, BK.
Keep up the good work.
All right. Last but not least, 2-minute warning. Woo, 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 woo. We're going to add that effect in later.
Yeah.
I will just record my voice, and that's what you will hear when we have our 2-minute warning. Today, I'm going to hit you with one.
Okay.
You have 2 minutes to make a case as to why it is mandatory for the Denver Broncos to add Ashton Jeanty to their roster.
All right. Go!
3, 2, 1, go!
All right. So the Broncos need a better running game.
Yes.
This is quite obvious to anyone who's watched the Broncos or watched the Broncos last year. Now, what did we always talk about, Liv? What is the best thing for a rookie quarterback?
Run game.
A running game.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean Payton didn't develop that for his rookie quarterback last year, which forced Bo Nix into all sorts of difficult situations, including playing with broken bones in his back, including having to pick up first downs with his legs. He's a fantastic athlete. He took a lot of folks by surprise. But Bo Nix, we need him healthy. We need him standing in the pocket. We don't need him running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to make plays with his legs, because Bo needs to be here for the next 10, 12, 15 years. The way you do that is establishing a running game, okay? Mm-hmm. And I know that Coach Payton and George Payton are talking about a joker, and that's not what Ashton Jeanty is. Mm-mm. So what's more important to you, Coach? Having a solid running game or having yourself a joker? And I think that we're going to find out a lot of what Sean Payton's priorities or what his instinct is, where it's at when it comes to this draft, because the Broncos running game is a deficiency on this team. They need to improve it. They have, and I do believe they'll keep Jaleel McLaughlin as your gadget guy. They need an every down running back. Nobody better fits that than the runner-up to the Heisman, Ashton Jeanty. However, there are going to be guys who say, look, this is a running back deep draft. You don't have to take a running back. You don't have to take Ashton Jeanty in the first round. You can get a tight end. You can get your joker in the first round and then get a running back in the third round who's going to be just as productive as Ashton Jeanty. For the sake of this argument, that's BS, Liv. You got to go with the guy who's produced, the guy with the juice, the guy who's the runner-up to the Heisman, the guy who had one of the most impressive running back seasons in the history of college football. And that's Ashton Jeanty. If the Broncos don't draft him with number 20 overall, what the hell are they doing? Ashton Jeanty is a Denver Bronco in 2025.
Bangers! And he's on time. Woo! Mic drop. Woo! Yep. That's what we do here. We follow strict guidelines and time frames.
Yes, we do. And we did.
And
it's done.
And so, yeah. Well, great episode. Lots that we broke down. Lots of things we discussed. A lot of excitement coming out of the NFL Combine. And we've got our very own BK out there keeping you guys covered on all things. I do want to say there were some comments in there that were asking if this is live. And people were asking about us interacting with the chat. Yes, this is live. I saw UT make some comments wondering if this was a live broadcast. It absolutely is. We see you guys up there. Hello, Paul. Hello, T. Thank you guys for tuning in and being active in the chat. We had BK on today, so kind of tough to interact with the chat as much as we normally would, but we see you, we hear you, and We are live. Yes.
And we'll try to react to your comments. They're a little tiny up there, and we have to sort of squint. But we do appreciate you guys following along and watching as we do this thing live. And we'll be back at it next week.
Yep. Back for another Guerrilla Sports Off Field next week, Monday and Thursday. I'm Liv Moods. That's Nate Jackson. And this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money by either getting you in a better interest rate, lowering your monthly payment, or both. That's what they're there for. So shout out to our friends over at Trusted American, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye.